Welcome back to Expat on Two Wheels, and today I want to talk about these SIDI X-3 boots. And these boots I've had for 6 years. I bought them in 2018, and I made a first impressions video about that when they were new. And I'll cut in some clips from that so you can see the difference. And the difference is very marked. So I've been using these boots for the past 6 years on almost a weekly basis. I do off-road enduro riding basically once per week, as I said, and so they've been used pretty hard, and this is how they've held up. I'm going to talk about the pros and cons of things that I like and don't like about these boots and how that went. So this boot here is a mid-level boot, and what I like about that is that they're fairly affordable. They're not super expensive, yet they offer a lot of the protection features that you get on some of the upper end boots. So some of the things that I look for in a boot are a shank in the sole. So if you go to bend this and you can't bend it, then this boot is going to protect you if you fall with your foot down like this. So my friend actually had an accident like this where he fell and his foot came down like this, and the bike, is behind his foot, right? And if you have a steel shank, it's probably going to twist to the side or something of this nature. If you do not have a steel shank, this toe box will bend up and break your foot, and that's what happened to him. So that steel shank is going to save you hobbling around on a broken foot for months, or 6 weeks or something like that. So worth its weight in gold. Okay, crush protection. So if you were to fall and the bike comes down on your foot like this, you want to keep it from crushing your foot, and this does a pretty good job of that. Then you have hyperextension. So if it tries to bend back like this, the back of this boot here has these limiting stoppers that limit the amount of flex that the boot is going to do, and keep your foot in good working order. And it has done that. I've only had one minor incident. Let's first address the elephant in the room, and that is that it looks pretty rough, right? And the thing is, in the last year, in the last few months, it started falling apart. It started delaminating, but everything obviously is built sort of to the same spec, because I've lost this buckle right here. In my last ride, it just broke off, and this was breaking away for a while. So this right here is failing, right? This plastic bit, and that's structural to the protection of the boot. But then the fake leather here has been delaminating for a while. Now, I had one situation a while back, a couple of years ago, where I do a lot of riding in riverbeds and wet conditions. And one thing to note about that, these boots are not waterproof. They're not even close to waterproof. So the idea is that they are breathable. And when you're working really hard, they're going to, allow moisture to come in and go out. And what that means is when you get a splash of water, you hit a puddle too fast, and the water hits the boot, it's going to pretty much straight go inside, and your feet are going to be wet. Now, I am not an adventure rider, so that does not bother me. Burn! Burn! Now, adventure riders are a little bit soft, and they like dry feet. But the thing is, I end up in water that's over the top of this boot, and when that happens, and you happen to have a waterproof boot, then it just fills up, and the water sits in there and holds in there, okay? So I'm not looking for a waterproof boot. That's fine, doesn't bother me. What happened is, as I said, the boots were getting wet on a regular basis. My wife would take them and put them out in the sun to let them dry out. And what this caused is for this sole to start delaminating, and the sole started coming off. So I took these soles to a cobbler, and he reattached these for a very reasonable price, and it was fine. I haven't had any sort of issues since then. I stopped putting them out in the sun. I got a boot dryer. It has a little tube and it blows warm air down into the boot, and it dries them really rapidly. In a couple of hours they're dry, and that's perfect. So as I mentioned, I had one incident where I got hurt in these boots. And basically what happened is that I was riding in the rocks and there was a piece of rebar that was sticking out, and I didn't see that, and it went through right above my boot, and it went into my leg. It hooked in there and ripped me off the bike.
It pulled me straight to the ground hard, and I got up a little bit confused. Then I saw the long piece of metal, and I realized what had happened.
And gouged my leg pretty badly. And that's not the fault of the boot. It came over the top of the boot. Now, maybe I could have had better knee guards. I was wearing knee protection, and it just went right through that and into my leg. But then I was riding back and my foot was hurting, and so I wasn't putting weight on it, and it caused me to fall over in the rocks, and my foot got crushed between the bike and a rock, and it was just right where it was pinching in this area, and so it did hurt my ankle a little bit. I'm not sure if it got twisted or just bruised, but my ankle hurt for 2 or 3 days. The gouge that I had in my leg was much worse, and that took longer to heal. But that's the only issue that I've had. I'm really happy with the protection of these boots. I think 6 years hard usage is great for these things. And one thing that I really like about these is they tend to be thinner than the competition. And what I mean by that is thinner side to side. The profile of these boots is smaller. And in addition, what's really good is the toe box. It's smaller, it's thinner top to bottom. And so that makes it easy to get under your controls. When you're shifting gears, I don't have to adjust my gear shift lever. A lot of people, they adjust their gear shift lever way up because the toe box on a motocross boot is generally really tall. And so just to shift normally, they have to adjust it way up. But then the problem with that is then when you have to go down, then you have to lift your foot up so high to push down on the lever because the lever is sitting so high. And so with a normal lever position that I would use for any other boot, any other street boot, or even my hiking shoes or something, if I'm riding around in hiking shoes for some reason, that works with these boots. And that is one thing that I really like about these boots. So I've been happy with them. I think this is a decent life. These soles, let's talk about the soles for a second. You can tell they've really been through it. They have these lateral lines, and I'm not sure if you can see it on camera. I'll take some B-roll where if you're trying to go forward, it slides really nice. However, it's supposed to grab going back. So if you're trying to walk up a hill, it will grab. But if you put your foot out when you're going around a corner or something, it's not going to catch on anything. Now, I don't drag my foot on the ground, or I don't think that I can think of. I dab sometimes, and maybe that's useful. However, when you're trying to stand on a steep, slippery hill, they don't have a lot of traction. If you're trying to manhandle the bike and pick the bike up because you've dropped it and it's slick and you're sliding around, they don't have a lot of traction. And some boots offer enduro soles, and for this particular boot, it's hard to change them. Again, you'd have to go to a cobbler and get it done. It's not the SRS system where you have a couple of bolts and you can just change them, right? So that's the situation. As long as you're on the bike, and they're very good. And from what I'm told, having a smooth sole is beneficial if you are on the bike, if you're riding the bike and you're in contact with the pegs, because you'll need to move your foot forward and brake or shift and then go back to the balls of your feet and move back and forth. And that's why they're smooth. And so having never used the Enduro soles that have like basically like hiking boot lugs, I can't really compare. But I can see that it would be more difficult to move your foot around on the peg if you had those. So yeah, everything else has held up really well. You can see that these things, they're replaceable and everything, but I haven't needed to replace them. It has this shield here that protects you from the heat on the bike and you're grabbing the bike, and that's held up really well. Obviously, I grab onto the bike, I hold onto the bike when I'm riding, I ride standing up, and you know, this has protected my shins really well. If I ever get on my bike without these boots, I end up beating up my shins and I regret it, right? So yeah, if you have any more questions about this, let me know. I think I've run over the main things. I love SIDI. One last thing about SIDI is they do tend to run narrow. So I also have narrow feet, and I know this, and so I use Nike shoes and things like that. And so that's one reason I can count on SIDI, because you know, they're going to be narrow, they're going to fit my feet. If you don't have narrow feet, then definitely try them on. Maybe go one size up or something of that nature. But if you have any questions, pop them down in the comments and I will try to answer them. Now, one last thing I'd like to address, and that is, would I buy these boots again? That comes down to the price, actually. So now, when I bought these, I don't remember what the MSRP was, but I bought them on sale for less than $300. And so when the high-end boots were going for $500, $550, $600, I was like, this is a really good value, right? Well, they've gone up since then. And the mid-level boots that have this level of protection are now running you $400. This boot, the X3 in 2024, costs $400. Now, I can find a Crossfire for about $500. So instead of it being a almost double price increase, we're only looking at $100 more for the full MX boot. And that makes it hard to go for this boot again in 2024, because you spend just a little bit more and you get a lot more. And so if you can find a Crossfire that's on sale, it makes a lot more sense to get a Crossfire that's on sale than pay retail for these. And I haven't seen these on sale since I've been looking. So I noticed across the range, I felt like the Alpine Tech 7s were a really good value back then. When I was looking, I was cross-shopping these with the Alpine Tech 7s, Alpine Stars Tech 7, which is another mid-level boot. And I felt like the price difference between the Tech 7 and the Tech 10, which again is approaching $600, I was like, well, you're getting a lot of value. You're getting most of the protection for way less money. However, when they're sitting at $400 plus, it's hard for me to rationalize it. So right now I'm looking at a set of Crossfire boots that are on sale. Stay tuned to this channel if you're interested in that, because very soon I will do a review on my next pair of boots, and I'll let you know what you should do in 2024 if you're an enduro rider who wants that level of protection and doesn't want to break the bank. So like and subscribe, and join us again next time on Expat on Two Wheels.